Joining us now are on the Trump bus in Iowa, day 5, Congressman, 2nd District, Joe Mitchell. He is joining us live. Congressman Mitchell, thanks for being with us. And you are on the John Fredericks Trump Media bus. We're in West Des Moines, Iowa. With us is Chris Saxman with the John Fredericks Show, and been with me for 15 years, and also run the numbers on our poll, which is really neat, which we want you to participate in. And we got a special treat for you, Joe. Special treat. Your Republican National Committee woman, Tamara Scott, is here. She heard you were going to be on the show. She raced over. She brought us Iowa breakfast pizza. I have no idea what it is, but Joe, it's damn good stuff. That's all I can tell you. So you're here with Tamara, and thanks for being with us, Joe.
Well, good morning, John. And it's great to be on one of the national syndicated radio shows. Eric Branstad called me and he said, "You got to be my friend John's show." And I said, "Absolutely." So I'm sorry I missed you yesterday in Mason City, but we're good to be on this morning. And by the way, Tamara's the best. She is the best national committee woman we possibly have, and she's done a great job. So it's good to be on here this morning.
All right, Joe. Let's get right to us, because I know you got a hard out at in about looks like I got 20 minutes or so.
Yep.
Let's go number one. Let's go to DHS funding. Government DHS funding shutting down. Only 52 votes in the Senate. They need 60. My first question: what happens now?
Well, you have to fund it. I don't understand. I mean, the Democrats nowadays are completely crazy. I mean, these people want to get rid of ICE. They would want to defund DHS. They're going to try to do that. And you have to enforce their immigration laws. I remember President Obama. You know, I didn't like President Obama, but at least he enforced the law. I mean, people still had some common sense 10, 15 years ago. And now they just want to totally defund the whole entire system and not enforce any of our immigration laws. It's completely nuts. And so, you know, we have to go to Washington. I'm running for Congress to do that exact thing. You know, you have to stop these people, the radical left lunatics. And the president has fought tooth and nail with them. And he has to have allies in Congress like myself. They're going to go up there, make sure we have a secure border, and make sure that we enforce immigration laws. It's completely nuts.
So let me ask you this: if they got rid of the 60 vote cloture rule in the Senate, just got rid of it, this thing would have passed with 52 votes. That would have been the end of it. The SAVE Act, which you guys passed in the House, that would pass with probably 50 votes. Probably lose Murkowski and Collins, but you'd have 50. You'd pass that. What is your position on the Senate clinging to this archaic Mitch McConnell fake 60 vote thing?
Well, it's crazy because you look at the SAVE Act. I mean, you have to have safe and secure elections, and you have to make sure that we don't have illegals voting in elections. Only United States citizens, this is crazy, we even have to say this right now, by the way, only United States citizens should be voting in elections, period. And I don't care if they're federal or local or state, only citizens should be voting. And the fact that we would have to bring this stuff up is so absolutely nuts. But you have to get rid of the 60 vote threshold, and you have to make sure that we can secure elections. Because if you don't have secure elections in this country, John, you don't have a country anymore. What kind of country do you have? It's not a sovereign nation. And so, you know, you have to pass the SAVE Act in the Senate. Luckily, our entire delegation and Senator Grassley and Senator Ernst are for passing the SAVE Act. But you have these holdouts. You have people like McConnell that are holding out. They don't want to pass it. You have Murkowski. So you have a bunch of squishy rhinos in the Senate that want to hold it up. And you can't allow that. So people need to call their offices. They need to make their voice heard, especially if you're in Kentucky, Alaska, et cetera. And you need to make sure that we pass the SAVE Act. Because if we don't pass the SAVE Act, we might not have a country anymore.
I couldn't agree with you more, and that's why they need to get rid of this 60 vote rule. Because I tell you what, if the Democrats take the Senate, they'll get rid of that, Joe, in 90 minutes.
Immediately.
It will be an hour and a half, and that thing's gone. Because when they had power before they voted to get rid of it, it only got held up by Manchin
and
of
Sinema.
West Virginia. And Sinema, they're gone, and Fetterman voted for it. So this thing is going to pass. Unbelievable. It's just it makes your heads explode. Okay, this just breaking news. Inflation in January coming in lower than expected, 2.2% price growth. That's within the framework of what the Federal Reserve calls for. It's been the lowest since May. of 2025. You couple that with the incredible jobs report we had yesterday, 130,000 jobs. Wall Street gangster bankers, which hopes this whole thing goes away so they can keep shipping our jobs to China. They were
Right.
pissed. 130,000. They said it would be 60. What's your assessment of the economy based on these two things?
Well, John, remember last April, okay, April 2025, and we had Liberation Day, and the entire news media and CNBC, all these people, I mean, Squawk Box, they were like, we're going to have a terrible year. We're going to go into a recession. The economy is going to tank. And that was all a bunch of BS. That was all a bunch of BS. And President Trump has proved them wrong time after time. And you've seen the job numbers go up. You've seen wages go up. Inflation's came down. Prices have came down. You have grocery prices that have came down. Interest rates that have came down. And then they'll point out ground beef. It's like, okay, President Trump's working on that. But I go to the grocery store. Eggs have came down. Milks came down. Breads came down. And so you've got all these costs come down. And by the way, you know how incredibly hard that is for companies to hike up prices and then have policy drive down price? I mean, that's a hard task. And President Trump's done it. And he's going to continue to do it throughout this year. And remember, for this year, the tax cuts just set in for 2026. The tax cuts just set in from the big, beautiful bill. And so you have no taxes on overtime. You have no taxes on Social Security. No taxes on tips, of course. And so you have more people taking home their hard-earned income. You're going to have interest rates even drop more when you have Kevin Warsh be put in as Fed chair in May. That's my prediction. And then you're going to have the dividend checks go out in the fall. And so I think you're going to have a roaring economy going into fall of 2026. I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to be even better than the president's first term. And so I think we have a good chance to actually hold the House and the Senate in November. But it's going to be because of policy. That's why we're going to hold it, if anything. And it's going to be because of the president's leadership. No one's had stronger leadership than President Trump. We all know that. Even Reagan. I mean, people like Reagan, they were great presidents, but they weren't as great as President Trump. He's done so much for the economy. He's led with such a, bold agenda. No one's seen a bold agenda like his before. And that's why you're seeing the economic conditions that you're seeing right now and reversing Bidenomics, because Bidenomics was the worst thing we could have ever had. And for 4 years, it was a disastrous economy.
You're on the John Fredericks Media Network, trucking the truth across America. We're on our Iowa Trump bus tour, day 5 in West Des Moines today. So thank everybody for joining us. We are with Congressman Joe Mitchell, Republican, 2nd District, Iowa. Also with us, Chris Saxman, been with me all week. Popped in here at 5 a.m. today, ready to roll. Chris, very good. And also Tamara Scott is with us. Tamara. I'm sorry, did I say tomorrow? It's not tomorrow. Tamara, sorry, Tamara. Tamara Scott is the Republican National Committee woman from the great state of Iowa, which we have had a great stay here. Joe, I got to get to some other issues. Joe Mitchell, you're in the 2nd District. Tell our national audience, give us the geography of that. Where is it?
So, hey, John, I got to correct the record real quick. I'm running for Congress. I'm not quite a congressman yet, so I'm hopefully a future.
Oh, that's right. You're running for the seat. Which seat is that?
Ashley Hinson.
So Ashley Hinson,
right?
Ashley Hinson has the seat right now. She's running for U.S. Senate, and so we'll be the Republican nominee. I just was endorsed by the president, by the way, 2 weeks ago. So the president endorsed me, and I tell people that's the only endorsement that matters, by the way.
Right.
The endorsement from the president's the only one that matters. We had, Jim Jordan endorsed us, Anna Poliana Luna, we had Turning Point Action. So we had a lot of great endorsements and momentum leading up to that. But getting the president's endorsement is the most important endorsement that you could possibly get. And so, we're super excited. We're grateful that we got that. But, the geography of it is we have Cedar Rapids, we have Waterloo, we have Dubuque. I'm over in Clear Lakes. We have Mason City, which you were just in Cerro Gordo County yesterday, I believe. So,
yes.
We have sort of northeast Iowa. The congressional districts are split up into each corner of the state. We have northeast Iowa. It's the best district, in my opinion, and it's got a lot of great people. And I'm a home builder, by the way, John. I'm a developer. That's what I do. That's been my career. I've built homes in eastern Iowa for the last 5 years. So I have developments in Dyersville and Grinnell and Clear Lake all across my district. I actually live in a house that I built in Clear Lake. And so, we have the best people, and so excited to represent the people of Northeast Iowa in Congress come November.
Joe, when you're on the campaign trail, I want to know, what are your prospective voters that I know you're going in Iowa, you have to go to the diners, you have to go to the individual counties, you have to go to Clear Lake, meet with people. What are they saying about the economy? Tell us exactly what they're telling you right now.
Well, they're thanking God every day that Kamala Harris is not president. I can tell you that, John. I talk to people and they say, I can't imagine if Kamala Harris and Tim Walz were in charge of our economy, how much of a disaster it would still be. And thank God for President Trump that he got elected by the American people and has turned this economy around. And so, this is where when the president, he gets frustrated about the affordability issue. And I understand it because he didn't cause it. Biden caused it. The Democrats caused it. It's their affordability crisis. It's not ours, but he's the one that's had to fix it. He's had to fix the entire mess. And so that's what we just talked about. Costs have came down for housing and groceries. Everything's came down under the president. And, the facts say that, right? It's not just him saying that. The facts say that. You can look at anything. And so, what he's done as president, he's brought down costs more than anybody else ever has. And as I said before, it's so hard for these companies. I mean, they hike prices. When have you ever seen in history when the companies hike prices up and they bring them down? That rarely ever happens. And it's happened under this president because he's fighting for the American people. And so, that's what people care about. We're going to be focused on that on Congress. As I just told you, I'm a home builder, so I understand the housing crisis more than anybody else. And we're going to bring down costs. We're going to deregulate things. I understand permitting and zoning and what we're dealing with, incentives. And so, we're going to bring down the cost of housing. That's what I'm going to be focused on in Congress. People my age can't afford a home, John. The average age of a first-time home buyer is 40 years old. I mean, that's a horrific statistic. 40 years old, first-time home buyer.
Sad.
It used to be 30. For like many decades, it was right around 30 years old. And now it's 40. And when you're starting a family and you're buying your first home at 40 years old, that's not good for a society, right? That's not good for a society. So, we have to bring that age down. We have to get back to a normal life. And the president's working on that. And I'm happy to go to Congress and be his ally and help pass some of these reforms.
So, Joe, this is more of a state issue, not necessarily a federal issue, but you're a home builder, so you're involved in some of this. One of the major issues that Chris and I found out about this week in Iowa was this eminent domain disaster going on here with farmers, where you got a private company trying to build a carbon pipeline to dump carbon somewhere in South Dakota. I get that, but they want to build a pipeline through farms. It's a private enterprise, and you got the state government putting the public muscle behind eminent domain, and it's causing a real issue. And people are really pissed about it. They're really upset. We heard that the other day, Chris, big time.
I lived it a dozen plus years ago in Virginia, in a rural district, a lot of farmers. You want to talk about people getting upset. When you talk to a farmer and taking their property, man, there's no conversation.
What are you going to do about that, Joe?
Well, John, this is what I say. We have to protect landowners' rights. We have to protect property rights. And last year you had the governor. She vetoed this bill. I said the next day they should have came in. They should have called a special session, because I hear about this everywhere I go. They have to have a solution to this. And I joke with people. It's not really a joking matter, but I say we actually need more carbon in the atmosphere, not less, because it's too damn cold in Iowa. And I say if we could bring back global warming, we would immediately win the midterms, because it's too cold in this state. But ultimately, on a serious note, you have to fix this. You have to make sure that people's property rights are protected. We've talked about it on the campaign trail a lot. Bobby Kaufman, who's the leader of this in the Iowa House, one of my best friends, he's endorsed us. He's been behind us the entire time. And, I told Bobby, I said, whatever you need, we'll do. So ultimately, they need to fix this issue. And they told us, all the legislators and all the legislative leaders, they said, we'll work on this issue the first week of session. Well, now it's like the 6th week of session, and they still don't have it fixed. So I hope they get it fixed soon. And, I've been in discussions frequently with my friends in the House.
So, why hasn't Kim Reynolds stepped in here?
I have no idea. I mean, I haven't spoken to the governor about it. We've been
I
focused
tell
on
you
our
what,
race.
I got Randy Feaster running for governor. He's going to be here in about 15 minutes live.
Right.
You bet this is the first question we're going to ask him. If you're
Right.
governor, what are you
Good.
going to do about this? Because this is the number one issue. How long have you been here? A week, Chris? Tamara, we've been here a week. Everybody that has called in or come here, that is the number one issue on their mind.
It is
the number one issue.
pressing issue
Right.
Yeah,
now.
the
I
issue.
hear about every county GOP I go to, and Tamara's there with me at a lot of these places. Every single county GOP, it's brought up. There's not a single one that's not brought up, by the way.
And John, because of your show, people in Washington are going to hear this. The candidates for president in 2028 are going to hear this, and they're going to show up, and they're going to demand change, and they're going to demand action and accountability.
Joe,
That's the power of your network.
Well, thank you, because that's why we're here. We want to hear what the people are saying. And Joe, I'm sorry to say this, but when you're out with Tamara, is she bringing you breakfast pizza like she brought us today, or do you get stiff?
She's not, but I want to say this, Sean. So Charlie Kirk was a good friend of mine, and Tamara is the one that introduced me to Charlie, believe it or not. And think about this. I met Charlie September 10th, 2019, 6 years ago to the date that he was murdered.
Wow.
And that's because of Tamara. Because I called Tamara up, and she had him at her Holiday Inn. Her husband had this Holiday Inn by the airport, and she had this Truth and Freedom Summit she had there. And I called her, and I said, Tamara, I really want to come. I was a first-year legislator at the time. And she said, absolutely, Joe. So I came through. She introduced me to Charlie. And I expected to get a picture with him. I was starstruck by him. And he gave me his number, and he texted me afterwards. We spent 2 hours together, and we came up with this thing called Run Gen Z to help young conservatives run for state and local office. And we formed a long friendship together. And he was a big architect behind this campaign, by the way. He was somebody that was incredibly encouraging. He's the last person to see my press release on September 8th, 2 days before he was killed, when I announced for my campaign. So anyways, I always have to thank Tamara for that, because I would not know Charlie Kirk without Tamara Scott.
Well, we want to thank you, but and that's certainly a riveting story, Joe. So thank you for sharing that. I got a couple more minutes here. I want to get to the Epstein files. Everybody knows my position on it now. I think they all need to get released. I think all the names except the victims need to all be unredacted and got the chips far they may, because you're dialed in to Gen Z. And I'm telling you, Joe, every Gen Zer that I talk to, not TP USA, they're a little more dug in. But the Gen Zers and I talk to a lot of them, young people are pissed about these Epstein files. They see it as two Americas. They get a parking ticket. They get a speeding ticket. They don't go to court and pay it. They impound their car and take away their license. Yet you got the rich and powerful getting protected, trafficking young girls on an island or wherever they were doing. They get protected, and we're losing them. Joe, we're bleeding them out by the hour. Right. What is your position if you get to Congress on these Epstein files?
100%. I mean, here's the thing, John. But again, people need to realize this, is that DOJ had these Epstein files for decades. They had them for decades, and Obama did nothing about them. Biden certainly did nothing about them. And the Democrats, there's far more Democrats implicated in these files than any Republicans. And they were trying to protect their friends for years until it wasn't politically convenient. That's what it comes down to. And so, Reid Hoffman, Bill Gates, all these elites, they need to be exposed. That's my position on it. But we had to realize the president's the one that asked to release them. Back in November,
Joe,
he said,
Joe, I'm telling you, Joe, that's a great talking point you gave me, but it's not the reality of what we're seeing with young people on the ground. This is not a partisan issue. Clinton, Reid Hoffman, this one, that one, nobody cares. Nobody cares. Howard Lutnick, no one cares what side of the aisle they're on. What they care about is one thing: protecting the elites. Again, you have two Americas. And if we don't get this done, and you can say, well, Trump did more than Biden. Yeah, that's true, but he hasn't done enough because his name's still redacted. People are still getting protected. And if my son gets a speeding ticket and he doesn't pay it, they come and impound his car and take away his driver's license, and he can't drive.
Right.
So,
Yeah,
but yet
I'm not
these guys get nothing.
protecting. Yeah, I'm not trying to defend DOJ from redacting the names, but what I'm saying is that they've released 3.3 million documents or something, and no one had done a damn thing about it until President Trump got in office. And so that's not a talking point. That's just a fact. I mean, that's the fact of the matter. And so, and he didn't have to sign it, but he did. And he asked Congress to send it to him, to send it to his desk, which they did that, which I would have voted for that too. And I think they need to release the files, and we can't protect these people. Like you just said, I don't think we should protect the elites. They need to be exposed. If they did something wrong, they need to go to jail. That's my position on it.
DHS and ICE pulling out of Minnesota the other day. Tom Homan basically claimed victory, went out. A lot of good stats here. They recovered what, Tamara, how many children?
I think it was 3,000.
3,000 kids. They got 4,000 out, a lot of criminals out. If you were in Congress right now, what is your position on these ICE coming in and trying to get out these 20 million people that came here legally under Biden?
You have to enforce immigration law. And if you come across the border illegally, that's a crime, by the way. You know, you had Don Lemon the other day say, well, a misdemeanor isn't a crime. A misdemeanor is a crime, okay? And if you come across the border illegally, you need to be deported. You need to come in the right way, because you know what we believe in this country, John? We believe in fairness. And there's a line, and you wait in the line, and you do things the right way. And if you don't do things the right way, you need to be sent back across. And frankly, you should have a lot less of a chance of coming over than somebody that does it the right way and sits in line. So, you know, you have to enforce these laws. I think the president's done a great job on this. Homan's done a great job. And then you look at, you know, the media like CBS. I know you saw the survey the other day where they said only 14% of these illegals being deported did serious crimes. Like, well, what do they categorize as not a serious crime? And, you know, the other, 86% of the crimes were like theft and assault and fraud and all these things where it's like, clearly that's a serious crime. How is that not counted in the serious crime category? And so, you know, ultimately, there's this huge conglomerate of, you know, media personalities that are shelling out for the illegals, that are shelling out for the Democrats. And we have to call them out for it, because we have to deport illegal immigrants in this country. And DHS is doing a tremendous job. They're patriots, and we need to thank them every day.
Joe Mitchell, I want to thank you for being with us today. I know you got a hard out here at 8:15, so or whatever time. Yeah, 8:15 Central Time. So I want to thank you. Hey, we've got a
Thank you, John.
an Iowa straw poll going on, which I'm going to text that over to you. I want you to do me a favor, vote in it. It's virtual, it's anonymous. Send it out to your peeps. I would appreciate that. And big shout out to Drew Johns, your guy here. He was great in getting this set up.
Drew's the best.
Great to
Drew's
work
the
with,
best.
man. We work with him all, and he gets back to you, and he's just Johnny on the spot. He's a keeper, man. You got to keep him.
He worked for Branstad before me, so I got him from a good guy.
You got to take him to Washington, though. You got
He's going to be with me.
You got to take him to Washington.
I
He's
told
a
him
good guy.
he can't leave me. I said, John. I said, Drew, you're with me forever now.
I know. He's a good guy. People want to follow your campaign, Joe Mitchell. Where do they go?
JoeMitchell.com. It's very easy. It's just my name, JoeMitchell.com. We appreciate any support you can throw our way. If you're on our district, please vote for us. The primary is June 2nd, and then November, of course, for the general.
Joe, thanks for being with us. Thank you for your time and your candor. We'll talk soon. Don't forget, I'm going to send you my poll. Send it out, and we're going to be right back. Congressman Randy Feenstra, running for governor. He's heading the polls. He's going to be with us live on the bus in a few moments. Stay with us. Iowa Bus Tour, Day 5.